Yo, can you hear me?
Say something about it.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because something weird happened when I tried to get in. So I'm checking, like, oh, shit. But when you got in, you just clicked that link and came right in.
Yeah, I mean, there was a waiting room.
Yeah, because I wasn't in yet. So when I tried to get in, it took me to a whole nother thing that I did with another group. And I was like, why is this popping up? So then when you came in, I just went back to I just logged into my Zoom account and then I clicked the link that I know I created and it went right here. So if you got in through that link, that's the link Katie's been sending out. But I'm trying to look at the beginning.
I
Oh,
actually called Delilah. Give me a second.
I'm going to then. When I saw Katie Barrett, it was a good reminder to do that. And I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, you just seeing my screen that says Able Accounts May 13th, 2026. Okay, awesome. I'm going to ask my fellow co-hosts to mute folks. I hear a lot of background noise, and then that would help us to get started. But I don't see who needs to be muted, right? That's interesting. Give me 1 second. Trying to figure out who is unmuted. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Donnaise Allen. I am the Director of Projects at Seek and your host for tonight alongside my fellow Family Education Committee members, Jillian Fisher-Bushell and Aisha Henry. And we have a number of family education. I thought Katie Schmaltz is here too, and Simone Taylor, who are also staff members at Seek. So we are here tonight to just help engage you all on the topic of ABLE accounts, because we are not the experts. We brought in an expert from the Maryland ABLE the organization, and she's going to give us all of the information. And we actually did send her the questions that you asked in advance. So she has that, and we'll answer that throughout the presentation. So if you don't hear your question asked, that's one of the things you can do, is just listen out for the question that you might have had and just ping her at the end or throughout the presentation as she guides us. So our agenda for this evening, number one, we're saying welcome to all of you, and we're going to also just ground ourselves in why we do family engagement at Seek, introduce Kelly Nelson and give you her bio, as well as hear her ABLE presentation. And then we'll just end with what is coming in the future for our family education series for June, and then we will start back again in September. So I'll just start going through the slide. So in the chat, if you can engage with us, we would love this. If you can't, we understand. And if you are unmuted, could you mute yourself so that we can hear just one speaker at a time? Because we're having trouble just figuring out who is unmuted. So if in the chat, if you can type your name, the name of your family member and the service or the services they utilize, and what category of ABLE account user you are. So whether that be, if you are a regular user of an ABLE account, just type in 1. If you have only signed up for an ABLE account, so you have it, you can type in 2. Don't have an ABLE account yet, 3. And then you don't even know what it is. That's why you're here. Type in 4. And then another piece of information that will be useful for Kelly as she goes through the presentation is to know if your family member has SSI or SSDI or doesn't have either. So if you could put those in the chat, it would help us to engage with you on a deeper level as we go through the program. All right, give me 1 second. I'll pull up Kelly's bio. Okay, so just wanted to make sure that you understood how we look at family engagement at Seek. Just a reminder that in our family engagement sessions, what we endeavor to do is get to know you all as families, to really understand what your needs are so that we can best support you and your family member. We want to build a positive relationship with you, so that's why we're consistently trying to engage and meaningfully involve you so that when things come up, we have this direct line of contact. And we just want to make sure that you all have a direct line of contact with us and that we have one with you so that it's a reciprocal relationship that we're trying to build here. So, and today, even though we have different levels at Seek that we focus family engagement with, today we're just talking about it on an agency level. So more broad education, a community gathering, and advocacy to help you all as you support your son or daughter in their lives, in their good lives. Just wanted to introduce you to Kelly Nelson. She's the Outreach and Communications Manager for Maryland ABLE. Kelly has worked in the field of disabilities for more than 30 years. She has served in many roles, supporting people with disabilities and their families through advocacy, education, and connecting them to vital resources within their community. As a parent of a child with disabilities, Kelly is passionate about helping her daughter to become a confident self-advocate as she pursues her goals of working and living independently in the community. As the Outreach and Communications Manager for Maryland ABLE, she's delighted to have the opportunity to connect with many people with disabilities, their families, and staff that support them as she travels throughout Maryland, educating people about the benefits of having an ABLE account. And through her outreach endeavors, she's excited to see how her work with Maryland ABLE is helping to promote personal choice, independence, and economic stability for people with disabilities. So she is completely aligned with the Seek mission, and we are aligned with that mission. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Kelly can share hers. Just want to present Ms. Kelly Nelson.
Thank you, Danae. I really do appreciate the time tonight to share information about ABLE accounts. I'm grateful to everyone who joined me tonight because I know we're busy balancing, our work and our homes and learning information about our family members. So thanks for joining me tonight. I am going to be transparent with you all and let you know that in addition to having worked as part of the Maryland ABLE team for the last 7 years, I'm also a parent of a young lady who's now 22, who's had an ABLE account since she's been 14. So I've got some practical life experience with ABLE accounts, and it's always, I think, helpful when we share with one another. Somebody that's 2 steps down the road from us, they sort of mentor us along, and then we turn around and do the same thing. So I like sharing information about how the ABLE account has really helped my daughter to grow in her self-confidence, her independence, learn some financial literacy skills, and also given her dad and I a way to plan and prepare for the future, right? Because right now we're all here taking care of our children or adult children, and we've got it. We've got everything covered. But we all have that in the back of our mind. What happens, 20, 30, 40 years down the road when we may not be here any longer and they're here? We want to make sure we have a way to plan and prepare for them to have what they need, resources and services that are protected to care for them. So let me go ahead, and for some reason, I've got my slide deck, oopsie, stuck on, okay, come on now. Okay. Oh, no wonder. I'm trying to go left or right when it's supposed to be an up or down. Here we go. So my goal for tonight is to provide a broad overview about ABLE legislation that makes ABLE programs possible. We'll talk about the eligibility criteria, account ownership and management who can help open the account. We'll talk about the main benefits, why people feel ABLE accounts are helpful tools for them. And then we're going to shift a little to talk about specific features that are available here in Maryland ABLE, because each ABLE program can offer slightly different features, and we're gonna touch on that as well. My plan is to go through material, kind of stop after we cover some topics, give you all a chance to put questions in the chat along the way, and Danae and Jillian have been so kind and gracious to help monitor that chat, and we'll do a little check in there. So these ladies will pull questions that are related to what we just talked about. And if you put a question in there that they don't give me, it's because we haven't gotten to that yet. But I promise you, we're going to make sure all questions are answered. Okay. So let's take a look at what ABLE accounts are. Basically, ABLE accounts are a way for a person with a disability to be able to save money and not lose their critical means tested benefits. These are things such as SSI, Medicaid, different types of Medicaid waivers. For decades, people with disability receiving SSI benefits were limited to being able to have just $2,000 in assets. And that's combined. So whether it was money in a checking account or a savings account, or if someone wanted to have a retirement account, whatever that money is combined could never exceed that $2,000 limit. And if it did, what would happen is that Social Security would give people an amount of time to spend that money down. And if they didn't do it before that spend down period, then what was happening is people were becoming disenrolled from their SSI benefits. And any of us that are here tonight that have been through the process of helping our family members to apply for and receive SSI benefits or Medicaid, we don't ever want to do that again. I was on the 2-year plan myself, trying to get my daughter her approved for her benefits, and it was a lot. So we want to protect those benefits moving forward. So thanks to some federal legislation that was passed by President Obama way back in 2014, called the Stephen Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Experience. That's where we get the acronym for ABLE. We just call it the ABLE Act now. But when that act passed, it gave states across this country the opportunity to open ABLE programs and make them available to have ABLE accounts for people with qualifying disabilities that would finally enable them to be able to save past that $2,000 asset limit and actually be able to have up to $100,000 in their ABLE account and still maintain their SSI benefits, their Medicaid, and all their waivers. So it was pretty significant, I think, groundbreaking legislation that made this possible. When the law was passed, our regulations were entered into the Internal Revenue Code, Section 529A. Some people are like, 529, that sounds familiar. You might be familiar with college savings plans. That's where the regulations for college savings plans are also in the Internal Revenue Code, but there's Section 529, where A for ABLE. So here in Maryland, Governor Hogan signed our ABLE Act into effect in 2016. We launched our program a year later, and now we have celebrated our 8th year anniversary. We currently have 9,772 Maryland ABLE account owners who together over the last 8 years collectively, all these folks have been able, to save over $154 million in assets, which is really remarkable for a group of folks who were once told they could never have more than $2,000. There are 47 ABLE programs. Maryland is just one of them that is open for national enrollment. And our program is operated under the Maryland State Treasurer's Office. So I am an employee of the great state of Maryland. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some other things that we want to know about ABLE accounts. Again, this is going to be applying to ABLE accounts nationwide. The main reasons that people are interested in opening ABLE accounts is that what I mentioned before, that limited savings option that people had, not being able to have more than $2,000, being forced to spend down their money, was creating a cycle of poverty for people who wanted to. Oops, I think there we go. People were, being forced to spend down their money just to maintain their benefits, and it was creating a cycle of poverty. So finally, with an ABLE account, a person can have their own money in their own name, save up to $100,000, and still maintain their SSI and all Medicaid. So the other reason is that money inside of ABLE, you will pay no taxes, not federal or state, on the earnings. So whatever your ABLE account funds are earning will not be taxed, not while it's in the ABLE account and not when it is withdrawn, provided that the money is being used for the account owner for their benefit in health, independence, or quality of life. A lot of states also have additional tax benefits, like here in Maryland. Anyone that has a Maryland ABLE account and makes contributions to that for their family members or friends, they're able to take advantage of an income subtraction on their Maryland state taxes for money that they're saving or investing for their family member. So this is another added tax benefit. Okay. Yes.
Can I just share that with you that your screen is cutting off the top? Is there a way to fit it onto the screen so we can see?
Okay, let's see.
Maybe even zoom in a little bit.
Hey, how's that? Is that better?
Perfect. Perfect.
All right. Great. Thanks for letting me know.
No problem.
So there's that, additional tax benefit of being able to make contributions to our family members' ABLE accounts and have an income subtraction on our Maryland state taxes for those savings. The other benefit of an ABLE account is it's very easy online enrollment and account management. This is very different from what us families are accustomed to. When we apply for SSI or Medicaid or DDA waivers, whatever we've got going on, it's usually a very lengthy application process, and we have to wait a long time to hear back about whether we receive those services. So with an ABLE account, it takes about 15 minutes to open the ABLE account online. And once it's established, you have access to the account 24/7 through online account management. So it's easy to manage the account. I want to cover a couple additional items before I take a little pause for questions related to eligibility and account ownership. But let's look at the eligibility criteria for an ABLE account. In order to qualify for an ABLE account, a person has to meet two criteria. Number one, they had to have the onset of their disability before the age of 46 or before their 46th birthday. Okay. Secondly, that disability has to meet the Social Security Administration's definition of a disability. So this is usually going to be something that is going to be present with them throughout their lifetime and has a significant enough impact in their lives that it's impacting their ability to maybe live or work or learn independently throughout their lifetime. But there is an actual list of disabilities that were approved by Social Security Administration, not for ABLE per se, but in their own, procedures and operations manual. So these disabilities vary. There's many different types. Taking a look at some of the ones that we might be more familiar with: an intellectual disability, a developmental disability, someone with a seizure disorder, someone who's blind or deaf, someone on the autism spectrum, a lot of many different types of disabilities, but it's something that is going to be with them throughout their lifetime. So for those of you, and it was real helpful when you were coming into the room and entering the chat, that, some of you have family members that are receiving SSI, and some are getting SSDI, and some of you don't have anyone receiving anything right now. So let me just touch base on a little bit about Social Security and how they could qualify for different ones. First of all, if you're here and you have a family member under the age of 18, it's not uncommon for your child with a disability to not be receiving SSI, even though they have a qualifying disability. This was my case. My daughter was born with a brain injury. She did have a disability, but because if we were to apply for her benefits before she turned 18, Social Security would look at the whole family's income. They would say, oh, mom and dad are working. This is a means, this is a needs-based program. Mom and dad are working. She's not going to qualify. But when she turned 18, then Social Security just looks at her income, which of course at that time was nothing because she was still in, school at 18 and didn't have a job and whatnot. So that's when they apply. So some of our family members receive SSI benefits, and this is usually when we have a child that's born with a disability and they've not worked, or they haven't worked yet. So they're qualifying because they've had a disability, and they have a needs-based criteria for that. Some of us have family members that are receiving SSDI, and that is for a family member who has a disability, but maybe they have worked. Maybe their onset of their disability was later in life, but they had a career or a job at one point. They were paying money into that, into those taxes for the Social Security disability insurance. And then they became disabled and they qualify for that benefit. Or it could be because a parent retires. And this is about to be my scenario. My husband is planning on retiring soon. So my daughter will switch from having SSI benefits and move over to SSDI because her dad is going to be retiring and she qualifies for 50% of his retirement income. Sometimes it's because a parent passes away and they have a child that has a disability and they qualify for that benefit. So that's the difference. SSDI does not have that $2,000 limit. It does not, only SSI. So it's in a way better to have the SSDI because there's no asset limit. However, if your family member is receiving Medicaid or any kind of Medicaid waivers, energy, food, housing assistance, DDA waivers, they still have an asset limit associated with them. So ABLE is still really helpful in that way. What if you say, well, I don't know if my family member is going to get SSI or SSDI. You can go to our website and go to the form section and click on the disability certification form, download that form, and the next time you head off to your physician, take it with you. The physician can check off the disability and have a signature there. You don't need to have that form with you at the time of your enrollment for ABLE, but rather just keep it in your records in the event that your family member is ever audited by the IRS. If they file taxes and they get audited because they're just lucky and got pulled for an audit, 4% of the population apparently do, they would want to make sure that you qualified for this tax-free savings account. All right. Another thing I like to mention is with an ABLE account, it is always the person with the disability that is both the owner of the account and the beneficiary. This is their own money, and if they are able to manage their own ABLE account, they are able to do so as long as they're over the age of 18. They're an adult, right? If you have someone under the age of 18, you have to have someone managing it on behalf of a minor. This is usually a parent or a grandparent, right? But that person in the ABLE world is called the authorized legal representative, or the ALR. So if they're under 18, mom or dad is serving as ALR. But what if someone is interested in opening an ABLE account and they're over the age of 18 and they're an adult? If they need assistance, they can select anyone they want to serve as their ALR. It still is oftentimes usually a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, somebody serving as rep payee, anyone that they trust that can help them to do that. If you're in a situation where your family member is unable to provide consent, like they can't sign a power of attorney, or they're not able to verbally consent to having someone help them manage the account, we still have a way for someone to be able to serve in that capacity. If they are a conservator or legal guardian of that person, they can serve as ALR. If they're a spouse of the person with a disability, or a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, or someone who's serving as representative payee. Okay. One other thing I want to mention about the ALR, just as there can only be one account owner, the person with a disability, there can only be one titled ALR for that ABLE account. However, we've added a new feature just a few months ago because we have been hearing from our account holders and saying, gee, you know, mom and dad are not together anymore. And they both would like to be able to see how things are being managed in the ABLE account. So the person that's serving as the main ALR can provide access at different levels to the ABLE account. So you can assign viewer only so people can see what the transactions are, how the money is being spent, or they can actually give them authority to make transactions as well. This has also been helpful for families that are getting a little older as parents, and they're looking to sort of train a sibling to step into that role. So they're able to give them that viewer access to kind of teach them how they're managing the ABLE account. So we've talked a lot about eligibility, account ownership, and account management. Any questions related to those topics? I'm going to put Danae on the spot now, and as she reads the chat.
I'm looking.
Okay.
I see. No, just mostly the questions that they have SSI,
Okay.
SSI, yeah.
Okay, hopefully that was helpful. I don't work for the Social Security Administration, but because ABLE interacts so much with Social Security benefits, I'm aware of the different types of SSI and SSDI. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at things we might need to know about contributions to an ABLE account. Here in Maryland, anyone that opens their ABLE account can do so with a minimal or initial contribution of $25 to their ABLE account. That's their own money that gets that savings or investment started. After that, people can decide how much money they want to put in the future and how often they want to do it. Some people set up automatic contributions monthly. Some people just log in a couple times a year and make contributions, totally up to the person managing the account. As long as those contributions are a minimum of $5, you can do it however you want. The big takeaway, I'd like you to just draw your attention to the bolded words here, $20,000 in a standard annual contribution. Think of this as ABLE having a bucket that every year can be filled with contributions up to $20,000 this year. Now, last year it was 19, the year before that it was 18. It's kind of been going up about $1,000 per year. There's no guarantee that it's going to increase next year. It's likely, but I can't guarantee that. So for this year, a person can contribute up to $20,000 into that account. The balance can continue to grow beyond 20,000 because if you were very fortunate and able to fund the ABLE account at 25 this year and next year you put another 20,000 in, you'd have 40,000 plus whatever your earnings are. So it's just the amount that they're able to contribute per calendar year. There is an exception to that rule. It's called the Able to Work contribution. This is for an ABLE account owner who's working, but they're not contributing to a retirement account or their employer is not contributing on their behalf. If they're working, they can qualify to contribute an additional $15,650 this calendar year. And this does go up a little bit each year. So think of this as a second bucket, the Able to Work bucket. The first bucket can hold up to $20,000 from contributions from anyone, family, friends, the account owner. But that Able to Work bucket can hold up to $15,650, but it can only be the account owner's money if they're working. Okay. So we can circle back if we have additional questions about Able to Work, but I do just want to let you know that there is a difference between an earnings threshold and an asset threshold when we think of Social Security. two ways people's benefits can be impacted. The first way is that they say, oh, Donna, I see that you've gone to $2,010 in your checking account. So you got some chance to spend this money down. If not, we're going to start decreasing the amount of money that you get, and eventually you'll be disenrolled. The second way is that Donna is working now and she's, working part-time. All is good. All of a sudden, Donna gets a full-time job or she gets a raise. And now your earnings have exceeded the threshold that Social Security has allowed. So they say, oh, well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to start decreasing the amount you're receiving because you're earning money. So ABLE does not help with getting past the earnings threshold. That's totally separate. What ABLE helps with is that asset piece. So if you're working and saving money in your ABLE account, the earnings inside of it, the assets inside of it are not impacted. But it is still going to be a countable resource if you're working and you exceed their income limits. The next big number I'd like to talk about is the $100,000 ABLE account balance. And this is really most relevant for those who are receiving SSI, because SSI is allowed to have $2,000 outside in any regular checking, savings account, whatever they want to have it in, up to $2,000. Inside of an ABLE, they can have up to $100,000. So if they were to exceed $100,000 in ABLE and exceed $2,000 outside of ABLE, Social Security would push a pause button on the benefits. That monthly SSI cash benefit would be suspended until they either spent money down from their $2,000 limit or they spent money down from their ABLE account. The good news is Medicaid remains in place. All Medicaid waivers remain in place. It's just that Social Security that's put on hold. Now, the other big difference is, let's just say you spend some money and the balance falls below $100,000. Social Security can automatically reactivate that benefit because you were never disenrolled. But if you have money outside of an ABLE account in a regular checking or savings account, if you exceed that $2,000 limit and you don't do your spend down, eventually you become disenrolled and have to apply all over again. If your family member's getting SSDI, you don't need to worry about the $100,000 balance. You can continue to put contributions in if you're able. You can actually continue to make contributions until the ABLE account balance reaches $500,000, $500,000. I hope and pray everybody has that problem, that we all hit that limit for our family members, right? Not likely, but hey, maybe someday somebody will. We don't know. But they can continue to make contributions up to the $500,000 mark. Once they reach that amount, we couldn't accept contributions, but the balance in the account continue to grow through earnings. Okay. Lots to know about contributions. Any questions here? Okay. That's some heavy stuff. I know it's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, late at night too.
Can I ask a oral question? Can I verbalize my question?
Yeah.
Is somebody, if a grandmother wants to contribute, I think I saw online that there's like a gift card or a gift. There's something that's called a gift something or other. Can you explain that?
Yes. We're going to talk about that a little bit later under features, but I can tell you just as a little preview that it's a really easy way for anyone to be able to make a contribution. An account holder or the person managing the account can send a link to a person to their gifting page, and they can receive it by text, email, or messenger. So when my daughter graduated, if I knew Donna and she was going to come to the party, I could say, hey, Donna, Lily's graduating. Here's a link to her Maryland ABLE gifting page as if you want to get something for graduation. She would receive it on her phone, click on yes, how much money I want to put in there, where it's coming from, and hit send. And it goes directly into the ABLE account. Never passes through those outside checking or savings accounts that could impact their benefits.
And you have another question, if that answers your question, Katie. Katrina has a question in the chat. Can their paychecks be directly deposited into the ABLE account?
Yes, they can. If they choose to do that, they can do that. But remember, again, if they earn more than what Social Security says they can have, just because they deposited in ABLE doesn't mean that Social Security isn't going to ping them and start decreasing their benefit amount. It's only how much money they have in their ABLE account that is protected. It's not their earnings. I know that's probably clear as mud, but there's two ways we get dinged, and that's the ways. So if there's no additional questions about contributions, I do just want to mention that if any of you have a 529 account that you might have started for your family member early on, and as they, exited the school system, maybe college was not in their pathway. Thanks to the ABLE Financial Planning Act, people are able to roll money over from that 529 college savings plan into an ABLE account, no tax penalties or fees, just roll it over to ABLE. It's still subject to the $20,000 a year annual limit, right? So if grandma opened in a 529 college savings account and she's got 21,000 in it, she could roll 20,000 over this year, less any amount that was already contributed by someone else, and then roll the next $1,000 over next year. So if this is something that applies to anyone, it can be really helpful because money in the 529 account is really dedicated to education, limited to just education related things. But once the money's in the ABLE account, it can be used for still education if you want, but literally anything else that's going to help support health, independence, or their quality of life. So now we're going to look a little bit into the savings and investment options. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this because if anybody has specific questions about the different portfolios, I would direct you to the program disclosure book that'll tell you the composition of all of them. But what I do want the takeaway to be tonight is that when you have money in your ABLE account, it is going to have the potential for earnings. You direct where you want to save or invest your money. Right now, we have a cash savings option. And that portion is an FDIC insured type of savings account. And some people really like that because they use their ABLE account very transactionary. They put money in, but then they use it throughout the month. So they're like, I like this option because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put money into an investment if I'm going to withdraw it in 3 weeks to pay for something. The other options are a mixture of 4 different portfolios currently managed by Vanguard. This is going to be changing in the future. We're going to be expanding our investment options, but for now until July, we have 4 of them. And they are a mixture of money that's invested or a portfolio that's invested in stocks and bonds. The fixed income is 100% bonds, so it's very much on that conservative side. Of the lowest risk is just the bond option. We also have a conservative option, which is just 20% in the stock market, but 80% in bonds. Again, very much on the conservative side. Our moderate investment option is 50-50, right? Half of it's in the stock market, half of it's in bonds. And the aggressive option is 84% in the market with 16% in bonds. And we typically see folks that are using their ABLE funds for long term. It could be a retirement account, right, for them, or long-term planning for families. They want to put money in the account for after mom and dad are gone. They tend to like the aggressive option because they're willing to ride the market up and down for 20, 30 years. Because what they say is, and I'm not a financial advisor and I don't even pretend to be one, but over time, those investments outperform a savings account. So that's what I've been told. So, but the good news is, guys, you don't have to pick just one. You can have one of them, all of them. Every time you make a contribution, you direct where you want it to go. So we don't need to worry too much about that. You'll have time to make those decisions if you decide to go with an ABLE account.
We have a couple of questions.
Oh,
in
yes.
the chat. So
Yeah.
there's a question about how do we roll over money from the 529 into the ABLE account? And there's
Mhm.
another question after that.
Yes. So in order to roll it over, there has to be an ABLE account to roll it into. So you would want to open the ABLE account first. And then there is a form on our website under the form section. So you would initiate the rollover with your 529 plan. It could be with Maryland 529 or it could be with any state. So you would want to, direct them to roll over the money directly into ABLE. There's a direct rollover and an indirect rollover. Direct rollovers are usually better because it just goes right from 529 into ABLE. Some people, they want to do the indirect rollover. They get the money and then they turn around and put it in the ABLE account, but that's just an extra step. But whatever way you guys want to do it is totally up to you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
The next question is, if they are gifted savings bonds, can they be put into the ABLE account?
So the savings bond itself cannot be put into the ABLE account, but if they were to cash in the savings bond, the money from that can be put into the ABLE account. So it doesn't hold like bonds and individual stocks per se.
Thank you, Kelly. That's it for
Yeah.
now.
All right. So if you have an investment option, currently the cash option, there is no, management fee for that because we don't, Vanguard doesn't handle that money. It's just in the bank earning interest. But if you do choose to have an investment option, there is an asset-based fee that's associated with that, which is typical with all investment, organizations like T. Rowe Price and Vanguard and Fidelity and stuff like that. And if you want to know what that is for each one of those portfolios, that again can be found in our program disclosure book, which is available on our website. As far as additional fees, I want to let you know that there is an annual account maintenance fee of $35 per year. This amount is prorated. It's, for someone who opened their ABLE account yesterday, it's not going to be 35 because they didn't have the ABLE account January through, the early part of May. So it would be prorated based on that. But from that point on, it is assessed quarterly and it would be $8.75 per quarter. I can give you a little teaser that we are, with our new investment options, we're hopefully going to be able to offer a lower account fee that would be available in July, but we're still, we're going to announce that later, but I can let you know that's something that's in the works. You guys are the first to hear about that, right? So people say, why is there a maintenance fee? I don't know what that's about. Well, while we're operated under the state treasurer's office, the treasurer doesn't serve as the bank. The treasurer's office does not handle the transactions in and out of ABLE, make third-party payments, do the investment portion, right? That's not what the state treasurer does. We had to partner with financial institutions. So Vestwell is a financial technology company that handles that for us. They are the ones that run the portal that you can do your online account management in. They take care of making the purchases for the investments, processing the transactions. So that fee goes to cover that, as well as the customer support team that's available Monday through Friday from 9 in the morning until 8 p.m. And they also operate our website so that you guys get a lot of, you'll see as we move into the features section that there's a lot of features and benefits that Vestwell makes available for us for that fee. Any questions about the fee?
There's one question. Mechanically, how to withdraw or spend money from the ABLE account.
Yes, we are going to be getting to that in just a second. First, let me do 2 more slides, and I promise we're going to talk about that. So let's take a look at who can contribute to the ABLE account. The good news is it can be anybody. The account owner can put money in his or her own account. It could come from family or friends, employers, if they want to gift money in through that way, they can do that. Back payments from Social Security benefits. This is probably one of the most wonderful things about the ABLE account is, let's just say you're in a situation like I was in with my daughter applying at 18, didn't get approved until she was 20, 2 years in the making of getting her Social Security benefits. to no fault of her own or mine, she's already over resourced because she's getting a large back payment. We see some people with back payments that can be $6, $8, $10, $12,000 in back payments. What are you going to do with that? You can't spend it all down within that period of time unless you're just spending it to spend it. So ABLE accounts are a good way to put that money in the ABLE account, and they can still spend what they want whenever they need it. So that's a helpful one. And we already talked about the rollovers from college savings plans, small inheritances. I hear this more often than you think. Great Uncle Lou, he passed away, and unbeknownst to you, he left $5,000 life insurance policy to your family member. Well, if they're getting SSI, they can't have it, but they can put that into the ABLE account. This is another good place to talk about that $20,000 limit and inheritances, because as families, right, when we're planning our future and how we're going to pass on our assets to our family, we're not going to be able to just outright give our family members money. We can have money in an ABLE account, but if our assets, and most of the time they are, when we pass away, between our life insurance policies and our real estate and our whatever assets we have, is going to be more than $20,000. So what do? This is where we see a need for multiple planning tools. And by that, I mean a special needs trust. Because with a special needs trust, you can create one now that'll be funded upon your passing, or you can create one now and make contributions to it if you want. They're not going to have an asset limit. You can fund that special needs trust with $50 or $50 billion. It doesn't matter. So some people say, well, why not just have the special needs trust? Well, we feel that there are really good collaborative planning tools, because with a special needs trust, your family member can never have direct access to their money. It always has to be handled through a trustee. With an ABLE account, I'll talk about my personal experience. My daughter, who's 22, can have access to her own money in her ABLE account. She can make purchases with her ABLE prepaid card. She's able to do that and have that sense of independence and learning about how to budget her money for what she's spending. The other thing with the special needs trust is they have more regulations that are restrictive, like paying for housing or rent. Okay, sometimes you can own a trust can have a home owned by the trust, but they can't necessarily pay for rent or mortgage, which is something you can do in an ABLE account. And obviously, there's an investment of time, several months planning for the special needs trust, and 15 minutes to get started if you're setting the account up online. Okay. With that is also a difference in your investment monetarily. When you're working with an attorney, you're going to be paying for the work that they're doing for you to create the trust. And with ABLE, there's the $35 annual maintenance fee. So there's going to be a difference in that way. All right. Any questions about special needs trust and ABLE accounts and that kind of good stuff? And then if not, we're going to go on to that, how do I get the money in and out question.
No questions in the chat, but feel free to unmute yourself if you need to verbalize your question.
Okay. So when a person opens an ABLE account, whether it's in Maryland or in one of the other 47 programs nationwide, they are going to go to the website of the ABLE program that they're selecting. In our case, it's www.marylandable.org. You go to the website and you click on a button that says open an account, and it'll walk you through the enrollment process. One of the things I would like to call to your attention is, if you're going to be helping your family member open that account, pay attention to that first question it asks you, which is going to be, are you opening this account for yourself? Because remember, there are plenty of account holders out there that are able to manage their own ABLE account. You want to answer no. I'm opening it on behalf of someone else, and that's going to make you that authorized legal representative. It's going to ask you for your information, like your name and birth date and social security number, because you're managing this financial account. And then it'll move down to the next section, which is tell us about the beneficiary, name, date of birth, all that information. So that's an important question. But once you're, in the process and you've started to the enrollment process, it is going to ask you to link an existing bank account of your choice. It could be a checking account, a savings account. It could be with a national bank, a savings and loan. It doesn't matter. But you're going to link your online ABLE account with an existing bank account. When I opened my daughter, she was 14. She didn't have a checking account. She didn't have any benefits. There was no rep payee account at the time. So we used mom and dad's regular checking account from Bank of America. We were the ones putting money into the ABLE account. We were the ones taking it out and putting it back into our Bank of America checking account when we needed to pay for things like her braces, her special needs summer camp, right? So that's how we did it. Fast forward many, many years later, lo and behold, she starts to receive SSI benefits. I went in, logged into my ABLE account and clicked on add a bank account, add a linked bank account. And I was able to link her Social Security rep payee bank account to her ABLE account. And this is how I ensure that my daughter never gets near that $2,000 limit in her checking account, in her rep payee account. Anytime she even gets remotely close, I can electronically move funds from her SSI account into her ABLE. Once it's inside of ABLE, it is no longer a countable resource. So that's the main way that people can take money, put money in through a linked bank account, and the main way that they can withdraw it back to that linked bank account. There is also, for people who are unbanked, they may not have that situation or they don't want to do online stuff. We still offer paper enrollment and paper. You can download paper contribution forms and withdrawal forms. It's going to go through snail mail and it's going to take a lot longer because ABLE accounts are really intended to be managed online, like a lot of the online banking we're doing. If someone wants that, it's available. There's an additional fee. I want to say it's $250 to manually process a withdrawal check, but you can check the program disclosure book for that as well. The other option is the prepaid card, and this is one of the things that I want to talk about in the future. But for right now, any questions about the main way that you get money in or out of the ABLE account?
Good afternoon. I have a question. I joined a little late. I apologize. And so you may have already answered this, or maybe someone has asked this. I'm just trying to understand what exactly is the purpose of the ABLE account and how does it benefit the individual?
So if your family member is receiving SSI benefits or Medicaid or any kind of means tested benefits, they're never permitted to have more than $2,000 in assets. So they can't plan or prepare for the future. If they get money, they have to spend it down quickly so that they don't exceed that asset limit of $2,000. So ABLE accounts are a way for a person to save money in their own name, in their own account. They can save up to $100,000 tax-free. All their earnings are tax-free. But the most important benefit is it's not a countable resource by Social Security or Medicaid. So outside of a special needs trust, it's the only way a person with a disability can have their own money beyond $2,000.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is, what happens if that individual is deceased, or what happens to that account?
I tell you what, let me hold on to that one until the end because it kind of, I want to, yeah, it has a couple avenues that we're going to go through. So I want to make sure that we get through all of this information first, and then we can tackle that one because it's an important question. And I thank you for asking it.
You're welcome.
There are a couple more questions in the chat. Kelly, there's how long is the delay between requesting a move from your bank account and it leaving the account?
It's going to currently, it depends on whether you have your money in the cash option. It takes about 2 or 3 days. It's not instantaneous. So I always tell people if you need the money, plan ahead. If you have money invested in one of those investment portfolios with Vanguard, they actually have to sell that portion of your investment. If you want to take $300 out or $500 out, they sell that number of shares of your portfolio. So it's going to take probably 5 days for that to hit your linked bank account.
So Kelly, sorry,
Great
this is Tim. I
question.
was asking the question, but it was really the other way around. So I see that it's kind of, my account, my son's account is getting close to $2,000. It's maybe, I know he's going to get $300 for his, how do you say it, his wages. So I need to
Yes.
get money out. So how
Yeah,
fast
yeah.
do I need? So it's the
Mhm.
other way around, basically.
It's going to be the same thing. Like it's going to go from your your linked bank account. It'll probably take about 2 days to hit the Able account. If it's over a weekend, you got to remember that doesn't count as a working day. So if you deposit it on a Friday, it may not go in there until Tuesday then because they're not open on, they're not really doing the banking on the weekend. So plan ahead by like 3 days, I'd say at least.
And I believe the second question that's in the chat is pretty similar. What are the transaction timeframes for contributions and withdrawals? So that's the same question. There's another question. If the Able account is linked to the account holder's bank account, can ALR make contributions online from its own bank account to the Able account?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, the number of accounts that you link to an Able account is not limited, but it does have to be an account that's in the name of the account owner, the person with the disability, or the ALR. So that's why mom and dad, Kelly and Jim, we were able to make, link our Bank of America checking account to our daughter's account, right? But then, Lily was able to add her SSI account in there and make those transfers. I hope that one day in the future, my daughter has a job and she'll have a little checking account and they'll send the money there. I can link that one. So it's not limited to the number of them, but really just who is on the account. So either the account owner or ALR. Great questions. Thanks.
And that's all we have for right now.
All right. So let's take a little glimpse at how we can use the money in the Able account. The good news is, guys, if you were to be bored to tears and suffering insomnia, and you went into the section 529A of the Internal Revenue Code and wanted to know what can I use the money for, they would tell you that a qualified disability expense is anything that's going to support a person in their health, their independence, here's the big one, quality of life. So because it's so broad, they thought, well, let's help folks out. Let's give them some categories. Please know these are not intended to be all inclusive. These are just to give you ideas. Let's look at health. Some of you are thinking, okay, that's the dentist, that's the orthodontist, or my prescriptions, got it. But let's look at prevention and wellness. That could be a gym membership, therapeutic horseback riding, yoga classes. Kind of get where I'm going with this? It's a lot broader than just prescriptions and hospitalizations. With housing, a person can use money in their Able account to pay rent or mortgage. They have to make sure that when they withdraw the money out of the Able account, that they pay the mortgage in that month, because you don't want to, sometimes these rent, they're $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 a month, some places around the state of Maryland. You don't want to pull that money out and park it into your linked bank account and let it sit there. You want to make sure that you use that $2,000 or $1,600 or whatever it is that month to pay that month's rent. But it is possible to pay for, your electric and utility bills there. If you're renting a place, you need renter's insurance, you can furnish the place, all of that with your ABLE account. Education, it's not just college. It could be sewing classes, pottery classes, it could be tutoring. Transportation, if your family member is able to drive, fantastic. They can use their ABLE funds to purchase a car, replace the tires on it, oil changes, gasoline, all of that. But let's just say they're not driving, but they could use Lyft or Uber. That is also covered under transportation. Basic living expense is going to be food and clothing. It's going to be utilities. Assistive technology can be screen readers or hearing aids. It could be laptops. It could be your cell phone. It could be their cell phone and their monthly cell phone fee. Kind of going all the way down to the end, funeral and burial expenses can be paid out of there. So really, I'm going to give you the cheater cat version of what you can't. So many things you can. What are the two things that the IRS does not allow? They do not allow using ABLE funds to purchase gifts for other people. So if my daughter wanted to use her ABLE funds to buy mom or dad a Mother's Day or Father's Day gift, it's not permitted because the money in the ABLE account is really intended to be spent on her. She's the account owner. The second category is gambling. So they don't believe that gambling is going to support health or independence or quality of life. So they've said no to that. We do recommend that you maintain documentation of how the money's being spent. This really looks different for every account ALR. Some people get the prepaid card, which I haven't talked to a lot about yet, but it keeps track of all your expenses. It, tosses things into category areas for you by vendor. I don't mind to share in it. I'm an older lady, 60. I do paper. I just have a file folder that says ABLE account 2026. And if I have any receipts that I need to put in there, I just keep them there. If my daughter is ever audited in the future by the IRS because she's working and filed taxes, I will give them all my file folders with all my receipts. Okay. But it really can look different depending upon how you're managing it. You can scan receipts if you want, anything, because we're not going to be asking for those receipts. Only if your family member in the future is audited by the IRS. They'd have to file taxes for that to happen, right? So if they get really lucky and they get pulled for 4% of the population that gets audited, you would want to be able to verify that they qualify for this account, that they have a disability. That's where that disability certification form would come in. Or if they're receiving SSI or SSDI, they already know they qualify, right? The second part of that, question they'd have for you is, how's the money being spent? And they would just want to make sure it was being spent on the account owner.
You have a couple of questions in the chat. And I think you just covered this. What kind of records do we need to keep on his spending from an ABLE account?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question is, what if a family member is driving? Can they be reimbursed from the ABLE account? Do you need more clarification on that?
So, transportation is one of those things that, if you're as a parent, you wouldn't be able to be paid for your gas for that because, let me put it to you this way. If you're sitting in front of an IRS agent, it's not going to be me making this decision. You'd have to defend this. What they're going to say is, you put gas in that car only for your family member with a disability, or did you use it for other things? Mm-hmm. So to keep it really crisp, neat, and clean, most people don't do it unless they can say, no, I only drive my family member with a disability everywhere they go. I don't go anywhere else. So it really would need to be that specific. However, if they're getting in an Uber or a Lyft, obviously that's their transportation, right? Their own airfare or bus ticket, then that's considered something. But again, it would not be me with the auditor. It would be you. If you can justify that, then you could consider that.
So maybe asking the question is better. So my son works,
Yes.
and between myself and his dad, we drive him to and from work every day.
Okay.
We are his transportation.
Okay.
So the question is, could he pay for the gas from the Able account?
Yes, if he's filling up everybody's tank to the tune of, both cars are getting filled up every week only by him, the IRS may say, well, you're also using the gas. So maybe a better way to do that is to just do a little agreement with your son that says, hey, mom and dad are providing transportation. We're going to charge you, X amount of dollars for this transportation service. And then you could withdraw the money out of the Able account and you could pay for your gas that way. Does that make sense? It's kind of like with rent and Social Security SSI benefits, how we have to show that we're charging rent, like a little agreement like that. It doesn't have to be a big legal document, just something that you write up and that he would sign.
Understand.
And that way, if you're audited, maybe, you could just show that and say we are his transportation. So this is what we charged for the transportation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to time check us and give you the next two questions. We're at 6:36, just FYI.
Okay.
And then there's a question that I know is coming up. Is there a debit card available for an Able account, or is there plans to have one in the future?
We have a prepaid card, not a debit card, and we'll talk about that. Yeah.
And then the next question is an Able account interest bearing, or is there any way to
Yes.
insulate the Able account value from being chewed up by inflation?
That is an excellent question, because remember, if you're in the cash savings option, you're getting whatever the current interest rate is, right? It is what it is. But you're not going to lose money. If you personally have a money market savings account, you may be getting stinky interest, but you're not losing money, right? However, if you were to have a 401k or a Roth IRA and you're investing, you're going to see sometimes that is going up and down depending upon what the market is doing. Money inside of an Able account is not protected from market losses, just like you would want it to see the market gains, but it's not going to insulate you from, if you invest in one of the investment options that fluctuates, you're going to see that as well.
And that's all we have in the chat so far.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm surprised nobody asked the big question, like, can we use an Able account to pay for a vacation? So I'm gonna put Danae on the spot here, and I'm gonna say, based on the criteria, if you were managing an Able account, could you use funds from the Able account to pay for a vacation for your family member based on health, independence, or quality of life?
It's the quality of life that leads me to say yes.
Yes, absolutely. So does the health, because we all benefit from our health benefits from having a vacation physically, mentally, emotionally, right? Same thing. Now, the difference is I can't use my daughter's Able account for her to take the entire family to Disney World. I can't do that. But what I could do is use her Able account for her Disney tickets, her airfare, her portion of the hotel, and her meals. Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
Good stuff. Okay. Yeah. So let's take a look at some of the features we have. Most of the stuff I've been talking to about has been applicable to Able programs nationwide, but each Able program was given the flexibility to design their program to meet the needs of their community. So when we sort of had our little focus groups way back in the beginning, we took some guidance from what people would like to have as far as investments and stuff, and checking versus debit versus prepaid. And these are the things that we've come up with here and that we have. We chose to go with an Able prepaid card. It is not a debit card. So if I were to give my daughter her Able card, she couldn't withdraw all the money out of her Able account at an ATM, but rather she would have money on her prepaid card that I have loaded onto her card. So she would have access to the money that's on her card. And that's what we decided to do. It's a really convenient way to access the funds in Able. So when I pick up her prescriptions or when I pick up something for her at the store, I just swipe her Able prepaid card. It's automatically coming out of Able. When she goes out for her CDS services, I don't know what y'all call it in wherever you all live, but we've got all these acronyms for everything. But basically, when she goes out with her group, with her service provider, and they go into the community and do fun things, she has the most fun schedule ever, by the way. I wish I had all the fun, but anyway, when they go out to bowling or pottery class or whatever they're going to do, she pays for her activities with her prepaid card. She doesn't have to worry about taking cash. Plus, it really gives her a sense of independence, and she sees that my mom and dad and her brothers, we have our little credit cards or debit cards, and she's got her own too, so she can participate in that. Also, you can decide how much money you want to load it with. It has different settings. When my daughter was 16, we got her the card. We had to ease into that, right? She doesn't know anything about spending or saving or budgeting. So it was a great financial literacy tool. We started with a lower amount on there, and she was able to see how much money she had in there, and she'd have to make choices about how she wanted to spend her money. And that was really, she was learning about budgeting for the month, but she didn't understand the word budgeting, but she understood how much money she had left and if she wanted to do something with a friend and whether there was money in there or not. So you can customize the spending alerts. You can set it so that, transactions can't exceed $25 or $50 or $200. If you're worried about, when they're first learning to use the card, it's very customizable. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at, we have the Able prepaid card mobile app. So it's super easy to go in there and, make contributions, put the money onto the Able card, or, select the different spending categories that you may want to turn on or off. Any merchants that may need it to be blocked. If somebody has like a great affinity for video games and, maybe the GameStop should not have an unlimited amount. I don't know. I'm making things up, but you could customize that. You can turn the card off if they've misplaced it, and then they usually turn up in the washing machine a couple days later in the jeans pocket. I'm only talking from experience, and I can turn the card back on, but lots of ways to customize it. But it also makes it just convenient rather than having to, let's take that summer camp I was talking about. I used to register her for the camp, put my credit card number in, and when the statement came at the end of the month, I would take the money out of Able, transfer it to my checking account, and then I would pay the credit card bill for the camp. Now I register her for her, summer camp, and I put the prepaid card number in there, and it, boom, comes right out of Able. So I'm all about simplifying things. You don't have to have the prepaid card, but if you want it, it's available. It's $1.25 a month. So for $15 a year, you can use the card every day or not use it every day, whatever you want. But it's a convenient way to access your money if you're interested. Another way that we have to teach some financial literacy skills is through the automatic savings option, something we added last year called the Weather Booster. So this is something that you can elect to participate in or not. I decided to do it because I was trying to teach my daughter that, when you're saving, it doesn't have to be massive amounts of money at a time. You can start anywhere and start growing your account. So what we decided to do, it's the minimum amount that you can participate is $1. So this is every time there's a 50% or more chance of precipitation in your area code. It's going to rain or snow or anything like that's going to happen. It'll automatically pull that amount from your linked bank account that you chose and put it into the Able account. So I used my account, and she was very happy every time it was raining or snowing or anything else, because she knew she was getting another dollar in her Able account. And it was really fun because over the year, that little bit of savings that I was trying to teach her, it adds up at the end of the year. So it was a great way to kind of teach that. But again, completely optional. The gifting page. This is one I'm going to brag on, and I'm going to brag on it big time because I love this thing. You can use it for holidays, birthdays, special occasions, graduations, or Well, not so fun things like, oh my goodness, there was a hospitalization. We have a lot of medical bills, or this is happening. We need, this medication now that's like $400 out of pocket. You can send a gifting page link to anybody that's a family or a friend or whoever is the type of person that is normally going to be, giving gifts to your family member. You send it to them by text or messenger or email. They can decide how much money they'd like to contribute, where they're sending it from. They push send, it goes right into the Able account. So remember, I told you we have, 9,772 Able account holders in Maryland right now. Okay, 932 of those account holders have been actively using their gift page. This is combined over the years since we started, right? 8 years, 932 people have been participating. Together, they have received over $10.1 million in gifts. Because it's very simple. Any families, aunts, uncles, grandparents, anything, they don't know what to get for the holidays. What do they want for their birthday? Money in the Able account. That way they can use it for whatever they need. And it's super, super simple. So if you're not using your Able gifting page, consider doing it. It can be for a goal that they have, maybe a special trip they want to take. They need a new laptop. Anything, you're able to use it for absolutely anything. Someone did ask about direct deposit. We do have a couple of options. I believe the question was about direct deposit for payroll. Yeah, that can be set up for the account holder or the beneficiary if they want to do that. You select how much you want to have deposited directly. We also have a feature where people can directly deposit funds from SSA. So if you have someone's getting SSI and you're the rep payee, you can set it up so it could go directly into Able. You don't have to do that, but some people asked for that. So we were able to work that out with Social Security. A lot of people just get the money into the rep payee account. They pay their rent from it. They pay whatever they're going to do. And then they just automatically transfer the rest of the money over into Able. So we don't have to worry about that balance growing month over month and getting up near the 2,000. We also, in addition to the TrueLink app for the prepaid card, Vestwell, the program manager, also offers an app for really convenient account management for the Able account. So you can check your balance right from your mobile device. You can see what your contributions are to date, what your withdrawals are. You can check the activity, all kinds of stuff. If you want to change your investment options, you can do it right from your mobile phone. Available for Google and Apple Store. So that's something that's helpful. Want to revisit? Oh, yes.
So there's a question I have two questions, but I'll go to the one that directly relates to this. When you gift money and you don't want the funds in the cash option, how do you direct it to an investment? Is that related to that app?
So the person that's giving the money doesn't get to select that. As the account ALR or the person that's managing their account, they would be able to set all gifts coming in to a specific place. But the gifter doesn't actually ever see inside of your Able account. So Donna, if I sent you Lily's gifting page, you wouldn't see her account balance. You're not in her account. You're just making a contribution to it. So it would just go wherever Lily has it directed to go.
Gotcha. And if I go to another question from before, the question is, my daughter lives in a group home. I want to enable her residential staff to make purchases on her behalf. Currently, I just give the staff cash, but some activities need to be charged. Can I let trusted people use the Able card for her? If not, I'm better off with an ordinary prepaid Visa.
Okay, so this would be a situation where you could, if they're trusted and you would allow them to use the card on her behalf, and you trust them and they have documentations, you're able to do that. But there are a lot of organizations that provider organizations that have residential services. And a lot of times we see that those folks receiving residential services have their SSA money, or the rep payee for that money being the provider itself. the residential provider. So we have people that are in residential provider agencies where they open up ABLE accounts on behalf of those individuals, and they're able to help manage that account. So if that's something that, you can always ask me. I think 77 now, 78 provider agencies, DDA licensed provider agencies are doing that right now. So that might be an option too.
Last question, and it's 6:50. What if the individual's income is coming from a job? Is the ABLE account still needed?
So they don't receive any SSI, they don't receive any SSDI, right? So they have a disability, but they have no benefits. Is that the case?
Jack, you want to come off mute?
They do get support services on the job from DDA,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't receive medical, they don't receive any type of financial assistance. They do
Okay.
have a resource person for I guess working in the community, not working in the community, like learning how to balance their checkbook and things like
Okay.
that.
So it sounds like, and I don't know for sure, but it sounds like he has a DDA waiver.
Yeah.
That's okay. So DDA waivers do have asset limits. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's 2,000, 2,500, 4,000. I'm not exactly sure because I don't work for DDA and I don't know what each waiver has as their limit. But
Okay.
money inside of an ABLE account is not a countable resource. DDA waivers cannot count that money against them if it's an ABLE. So that's one of the benefits. The other benefit is that money inside of the ABLE account, it gets tax-free earnings.
Okay.
Again, if you're like, well, I don't see him carrying a big balance in there, then, it may not be as appealing because you're not really worried about the tax-free earnings. Just something to consider if the card that you have is working the way it is, and you're not concerned about those, the balance in his account going beyond 2,000 or 2,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another
Okay.
question. Can I get
Oh,
two
thank you.
prepaid cards on the same account? One for my son and one for me.
Yes, but yes, you can definitely do that. Yeah, but it's $1.25 per card. So right now, Lily and I share a card, but maybe at one point she's just going to be like, Ma, beat it, get your own card. We'll see. But right now, we're able to kind of just, I borrow it from her when I need to pick something up. But yes, you can do that.
I have another question. If you have an account,
Mhm.
can you just transfer money to that account and use the debit card or a credit card from a regular account versus paying for a prepaid card?
You can. So you're going to link a bank account to the ABLE account. It could be a checking account or a savings account. It has to be in
Okay.
the name of the account owner,
Okay.
the person with the disability, or the ALR. So I'll go back to that example when I'm paying for my daughter's summer camp. Before I had
Okay.
the prepaid card, I would just register her for camp, put my credit card number in there. And when my statement came from my Visa, I would go into her ABLE account, withdraw money back to my checking account, and I would
Okay.
pay the bill. So you
Gotcha.
can definitely do it that way. But because I was just trying to streamline things, I just got the prepaid card. It's a convenience factor for me. And
Okay.
not everybody likes them, not everybody wants them. It was just me trying to streamline things. So I just got the prepaid card, put money on the card, and then I'm able to access it when I'm online or in the community.
That is of concern to me because what if the card is lost? Does that mean that the funds on the card is gone, or is there a safeguard for the prepaid?
Well, if they have the prepaid card, if they are using the card and if somebody steals the card and gets their password, just like our credit cards. our
Oh, so
debit
there's a
cards.
password. It's not just, okay, got you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So real quick, just want to remind everybody that here in Maryland, we do have an income subtraction on our Maryland state taxes. This was a really helpful thing for me initially. When we opened my daughter's account, she had such an extraordinary medical journey for the first 7 years of her life. We didn't have a lot of money to start savings, but what we were doing was paying for everything for her because that's what parents do. So I thought, well, let's do this. Let's open the ABLE account. We'll start putting money into the ABLE account, and then we'll use that money to pay for things like her orthodontist and all the other expensive things we were paying for. But then we were able to use our contributions that we made to her ABLE account as an income subtraction, lowering our taxable income here in Maryland. So, it's a little, every little bit helps when it comes to taxes. So, Danae, I know we're running out of time. This is a summary slide of things that we talked about.
Mhm.
I do just want to mention that I will make this slide deck available. I'm going to send you some resources as well. In this slide deck, you'll see things from Social Security, their procedures and operations manual. ABLE Today is a fantastic resource. It's got podcasts about ABLE questions. It's got webinars. The Maryland ABLE website is really helpful. We've got a lot of great tools on there as well. So I'm going to give you that so we can stay connected. We've got our website here, marylandable.org. We've got our customer support team that's available to answer questions. So I do just want to say thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I know we have 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
And one of the big questions that I skipped over and promised to answer is what happens upon the passing of the beneficiary, the account owner? Okay. Couple of scenarios here. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. Number one, if the person passes away and they have a will that says, hey, my estate, whatever I have, passes to my sister or my parents, the money in the ABLE account, what's going to happen, they pass away, somebody informs Maryland ABLE that they passed, they will not allow any further contributions to the ABLE account, but the account will remain open for 6 months, giving you all a chance to pay any final burial expenses or whatever. Once that happens, the account will be closed, the account liquidated, and it will go to whoever is the recipient of that estate. Now, when that person gets it, let's just say a sibling gets the money or mom or dad, they are going to have to pay taxes on the earnings portion only. Someone passes, has $10,000 in their ABLE account. They're going to figure out how much money of that 10,000 was earnings from, their investments. I'm going to make up a number here. I'm just going to say $300. I have no idea. The person receiving that ABLE account will pay taxes on the $300. Does that make sense? Now, let's just say there is no estate. There is no will. It'll go through probate. Well, even with a will, you go through probate, but it's not as complicated. So what they'll do is they'll look for the nearest living relative in this order. Does the person have a spouse? No. Do they have surviving children? No. Okay. Do they have a surviving parent? Okay. Then that would go to that person. If not, surviving sibling. It'll keep going down the line until they find the nearest living relative. Repeat from the first part. That person, once the account is liquidated, will pay taxes on the earnings. Now, here's the big one. Here's the big one that everybody wants to know about. What if my family member is receiving Medicaid or Medicaid waivers, those DDA services that we get, residential services, all that is being paid for by Medicaid. So in the state of Maryland, and this is not true for all ABLE programs, but the state of Maryland has a letter indicating that Maryland will not seek recapture of Medicaid funds from an ABLE account. However, the federal government never said that. So the federal government could choose to come back for Medicaid recapture. Has it ever happened to date? No. But could they? Yes, because this is the way they look at it. When your child receives services, whether it's residential or DDA services, money comes from two sources: federal funds, state funds. They pay for that person that comes, picks you up, picks my daughter up, takes them out in the community, does their supported employment. If someone's living in residential, all that is paid for out of that waiver fund. These two sources of funds. Maryland says, no, we're not seeking recapture. But the federal government says, look, if a person passes away and they have money in an ABLE account, and we calculate over their lifetime, and we're talking a person, over 55, long-term services, long-term care, we've paid out $2.4 million in services for residential, nursing, health, whatever. We are going to seek recapture of that $10,000 to put it back in the pot for the next person that we give Medicaid waivers to. Does that make sense? It hasn't happened, but I can't promise you it won't.
It makes sense. And on that note, it's 7 p.m. We want to say thank you, big thank you to you, Kelly, because that was a lot of information that seemed to just come right off the top of your head. I'm sure people may have questions, and so we'll send out these slides so that you can individually reach out to Kelly and her team to get answers. I know there was one in the chat that I'll make sure I message to you and then get to the person. I wanted to share my screen, so if you can stop sharing really quick, then I can share my screen just to give people a heads up about what we have coming next. So for our family education series, our next session will be on June 10th, and that will be on a planning workshop with using the Life Course Framework tools. And so there's 3 ambassadors at Seek. I'm one of them, and we'll give an in-person workshop using actual tools to help people to prepare for our 3-part family education series that's coming in the fall, in September, October, and November. It's a series that covers what happens when I'm gone and how do we plan for that and how do we get ourselves prepared for that. So I know that's a hot topic amongst our family members, and so we want to make sure that we are addressing that. And so that's coming up in the fall, but we'll kind of give a teaser for June. It's 7:01. So we thank you all for joining us. Katrina, I will make sure that I get that question to Kelly. And for all of you who are able to join tonight, we just want to say thank you. And Kelly, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your expertise and your guidance. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Have
everyone.
a great evening. We will see you in June.
Okay, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, we got some scragglers. I'm gonna stop the